History can often be a gritty and brutal tale, revealing aspects of the past that can be uncomfortable to digest. While it's essential to learn from our historical mistakes, there exists a collection of lesser-known events that have been kept from the conventional classroom curriculum. In 1995, James Loewen set out to resolve this problem. He published a landmark book, Lies My Teacher Told Me, that went on to sell more than 2 million copies. Loewen shattered myths around Christopher Columbus, the first Thanksgiving, the Civil War, Helen Keller, Abraham Lincoln, American labor history, and the roots of racial inequalities. But today, we embark on an electrifying journey deep into the heart of military history, a realm of untold stories, forgotten heroes, and astonishing battles that have remained hidden from the pages of textbooks. Now, let's start with a shocking revelation. Everything you learned about World War II is wrong. Winston S. Churchill once said, "At times of crisis, myths have historical importance." And he was spot on. Myths have a way of inspiring courage in the face of overwhelming odds, like the heroes of World War II. But here's the kicker. Some myths about World War II have been passed down for generations, and it's high time we set the record straight. Myth 1. Most American soldiers were eager to fight Nazis. During World War II, there was undoubtedly a surge of patriotism and a desire to protect democracy from the threat of the Axis powers. However, it's crucial to recognize that not all American soldiers enlisted voluntarily. The United States adopted a selective service system, commonly known as the draft, to ensure it had enough manpower for the war. The draft was instituted in 1940, before the U.S. officially entered the war, as a precautionary measure. As the war progressed, millions of young American men were conscripted into the military. While many embraced their duty with dedication and valor, they did so out of a sense of obligation rather than unbridled enthusiasm. The statistics from the National World War II Museum reveal that a significant portion of the American population was initially reluctant to enter the conflict. This hesitancy stemmed from the memories of World War I and the desire to avoid being drawn into another costly and devastating war. It was only over time, as the realities of the war became clearer, that public opinion shifted more decisively toward supporting military involvement. Myth 2. Great Britain was alone during its darkest hour. The darkest hour of World War II for Great Britain is often associated with the Battle of Britain in 1940, when the Royal Air Force valiantly defended the British Isles against the German Luftwaffe. While this battle showcased British resilience and heroism, it's important to acknowledge that Britain wasn't truly alone during this period. The British Empire was a global superpower, spanning vast territories and populations. It drew upon the resources and manpower of its dominions and colonies, forming a critical part of its war effort. Countries like Canada, Australia, South Africa, and India contributed significantly to Britain's war machine. Additionally, the international character of the British forces, especially the Royal Air Force, was remarkable. Pilots from various nations, including those who had fled Nazi-occupied Europe, volunteered to fight in the Battle of Britain. Polish and Czechoslovakian squadrons, for instance, played crucial roles in the defense of Britain's skies. Even beyond the British Empire, allies such as the Soviet Union and the United States eventually joined the fight against Nazi Germany, further dispelling the notion of Britain standing alone. Myth 3. Pearl Harbor was a surprise attack. The attack on Pearl Harbor is often depicted as an entirely unforeseen event, catching the United States completely off guard. While the attack itself was a tactical surprise, there were several signs and warnings that tensions were escalating in the Pacific region. The United States had been monitoring Japanese diplomatic messages and had intercepted a message suggesting Japan was about to take a significant action. However, the specific details and timing of the attack were not known. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a devastating and unexpected blow to the U.S. Pacific Fleet, and it pushed the United States into World War II. It's essential to remember that surprise attacks, by nature, aim to exploit the element of surprise, making it challenging for the defender to prepare adequately. Myth 4. The Stalingrad sniper Lady Death. Lyudmila Pavlichenko, known as Lady Death, was indeed a remarkable sniper and a national hero in the Soviet Union. She had an impressive record of 309 confirmed kills during World War II. However, it's essential to note that the widely circulated claim that she killed hundreds or even over 1,000 German soldiers is a significant exaggeration. While her achievements were extraordinary, they should not be inflated beyond the historical record. Myth 5. The Clean Wehrmacht. There is a myth that the regular German army or Wehrmacht was not involved in war crimes during World War II. Instead, it's often suggested that atrocities were solely committed by organizations like the SS. In reality, the Wehrmacht was implicated in numerous war crimes, especially on the Eastern Front during Operation Barbarossa. German soldiers were involved in mass killings of civilians, particularly Jews, and the treatment of Soviet prisoners of war was horrific, resulting in the deaths of millions. While it's true that not all Wehrmacht soldiers were directly involved in these crimes, the myth of a clean Wehrmacht downplays the widespread complicity and participation of Wehrmacht units in war crimes. Myth 6. The Great Escape from Stalag Luft 3. The Great Escape from Stalag Luft 3, immortalized in the film of the same name, was a daring and meticulously planned operation by Allied prisoners of war. However, it's essential to clarify that the escape was not the resounding success that the movie suggests. Of the 76 men who escaped the camp, only 3 managed to reach neutral territory and the rest were recaptured. Furthermore, Adolf Hitler ordered the execution of 50 of the recaptured prisoners, a grave and tragic outcome that underscores the risks and consequences faced by escapees. While the Great Escape was a remarkable display of courage and ingenuity, it did not achieve the desired results. Myth 7. The Holocaust was unknown to ordinary Germans. There's a misconception that the Holocaust and the mass murder of Jews were entirely unknown to ordinary Germans. While the full extent of the Holocaust may not have been known to every citizen, there was significant knowledge and complicity within the German population. The Nazi regime's anti-Semitic propaganda was pervasive, and the construction and operation of concentration camps and ghettos were often conducted in close proximity to towns and cities. Additionally, many Germans were involved in various capacities in the Holocaust, whether as soldiers, administrators, or collaborators. Myth 8. All Japanese Americans were interned. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. government authorized the internment of over 120,000 Japanese Americans, primarily those living on the West Coast. However, it's essential to clarify that not all Japanese Americans were interned. Some were allowed to serve in the U.S. military and others lived outside the exclusion zones. The internment of Japanese Americans is now widely recognized as a grave injustice and the result of wartime hysteria and racial prejudice. In 1988, the United States officially apologized for the internment and provided reparations to surviving Japanese American internees. Moving on from World War II, military history is replete with fascinating tales and enduring myths that deserve closer scrutiny. Here are more myths and misconceptions related to military history. Myth 9. The 300 Spartans at Thermopylae. The Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC is often reduced to the heroic stand of 300 Spartan warriors against the mighty Persian army. While the valor of the Spartans is undisputed, it's essential to recognize that this battle was part of a larger Greek coalition. The Spartan force was only a fraction of the Greek army, and their stand was intended to buy time for the Greek allies to prepare for the Persian invasion. The victory at Thermopylae was not solely a Spartan achievement, but a collaborative effort. Myth 10. Napoleon's hat. Napoleon Bonaparte's iconic hat, the bicorn, is often portrayed with a characteristic cocked shape. However, the myth suggests that Napoleon wore his hat that way to make himself easily recognizable on the battlefield. In reality, the shape of the bicorn had practical purposes. It allowed Napoleon to carry it under his arm, leaving his hands free for strategic and tactical gestures. Its design was more about convenience than vanity. Myth 11. Remember the Alamo. The Battle of the Alamo during the Texas Revolution is remembered as a symbol of Texan resistance against Mexican forces. The phrase "Remember the Alamo" is often associated with the Texan cause. However, it's crucial to acknowledge that the defenders of the Alamo were primarily Anglo-American settlers who had migrated to Mexican Texas. The conflict stemmed from complex political and cultural factors, and it was not solely a struggle for Texan independence. Myth 12. the Wild West was incessantly violent. The American Wild West is often depicted as a place of relentless violence, gunfights, and lawlessness. While there were undoubtedly periods of violence, the reality was more nuanced. Many frontier towns and communities had established legal systems and maintained order. The image of the Wild West has been romanticized and exaggerated in popular culture. Myth 13. The charge of the Light Brigade was a disaster. The charge of the Light Brigade during the Crimean War is often portrayed as a senseless and disastrous charge into certain death. While it did result in heavy casualties, it wasn't entirely futile. The charge disrupted Russian artillery positions, and some objectives were achieved before the Light Brigade was forced to withdraw. It was a complex and ill-fated military operation, but it had tactical significance. Myth 14. The Trojan horse was gigantic. The Trojan horse, as described in Homer's Iliad, is often depicted as a massive wooden horse that concealed Greek soldiers. However, historical and archaeological evidence suggests that the Trojan horse was more likely a smaller, practical siege engine used to infiltrate Troy. The term horse may have been a mistranslation of the Greek word hippos, which could also refer to siege engines. These myths and misconceptions, like those related to World War II, can sometimes oversimplify or romanticize historical events. Delving deeper into the historical context and reevaluating these myths can provide a more accurate understanding of military history and the individuals and events that shaped it. Now, we would like to hear from you. Which of these military history lessons were you taught wrong in school? Please share your insights and thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on more compelling episodes of military history. Together, let's continue to learn.